My name is Alma. If you are thinking about switching from gas heating to a heat pump, you are probably asking one simple question: which one is actually cheaper? And honestly, it is a great question because there is a lot of confusing information out there. Some people say heat pumps are the future. Others say they are too expensive and not worth the trouble. So what is actually true? In this video, I will break it down in a clear and practical way so you can understand the real difference in cost without confusing technical terms. We will look at how each system works, what you pay every month, and what most people get completely wrong when comparing the two. I also created a free guide that covers the key topics from all of my videos. You can download it right now using the link in the description below. If you want to explore my full library of guides, you can find it through the link in the description. All of the ebooks focus on smart energy use, and I will be adding more in the future. Stay until the end because I will explain which option would be cheaper for your specific situation. Let's get into it.
Before we talk about money, let's quickly understand how each system works. Because once you get this, everything else makes a lot more sense. Gas heating is straightforward. You burn natural gas, and that creates heat. The furnace heats up air, and that warm air flows through your ductwork and vents. Now here is the important part. When you burn gas, you can never get more energy out than what you put in. In fact, even a high-efficiency gas furnace only converts about 90 to 97% of the gas into usable heat. The rest is lost. A heat pump works in a completely different way. It does not burn anything. Instead, it moves heat from outside your home to the inside. Yes, even when it is cold outside, there is still heat energy in the air or in the ground. A heat pump extracts that energy and brings it into your home. And here is where it gets interesting. Because a heat pump is not creating heat from scratch, it uses much less electricity than the amount of heat it delivers. For every 1 unit of electricity a heat pump uses, it can deliver 3, 4, or even 5 units of heat. That ratio is called the coefficient of performance, or COP. And it is this efficiency that makes heat pumps so attractive when it comes to running costs. So to summarize, gas burns fuel to make heat. A heat pump moves existing heat using a small amount of electricity. That simple difference is what changes everything when it comes to cost.
Now let's talk about the first cost most people think about: installation. A new gas furnace fully installed typically costs somewhere between $2,500 and $7,500, depending on the brand, efficiency rating, and complexity of the job. A heat pump is more expensive up front. Depending on the type, you are looking at somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000 for a full installation, including the outdoor and indoor units. So yes, the initial investment for a heat pump is significantly higher, and this is where many people stop comparing. They see the price difference and think that is not worth it. But here is the thing: installation cost is a one-time expense. What really matters for your wallet is what you pay every single month, year after year. And that brings us to the most important part of this comparison. This is where it gets really interesting. Let's say your home needs about 60 million BTUs of heat per year. That is fairly typical for a medium-sized house in a moderate climate. With a gas furnace that is 90% efficient, you would need roughly 660 therms of gas to produce that heat. Now, if your gas price is around $1.20 per therm, which is a common average in many parts of the country, that comes out to roughly $800 to $1,000 per year in gas costs. Now let's look at the heat pump. If your heat pump has a COP of 3, meaning it delivers 3 units of heat for every 1 unit of electricity, you would need about 6,000 kilowatt hours of electricity to produce the same amount of heat. At an average electricity price of about 16 cents per kilowatt hour, That comes to roughly $960 per year, so at first glance, the numbers look close. But if your heat pump performs even better, with a COP of 4, your electricity need drops to about 4,500 kilowatt hours. That brings your annual cost down to around $720. And here is where your location really matters. In states where gas is expensive, like in the Northeast or parts of the West Coast, the savings with a heat pump are even bigger. Over 10 years, that difference adds up to a serious amount of money. And over 20 years, it can easily cover the difference in installation cost and still leave you ahead financially.
Now, before you get too excited, let me be honest with you. These numbers are not the same for everyone. Whether a heat pump actually saves you money depends on a few key factors. The first one is your electricity price versus your gas price. This varies a lot across the United States. In states like Louisiana or Oklahoma, natural gas is very cheap. In states like Connecticut or California, gas prices are much higher. Similarly, electricity prices range from about 10 cents per kilowatt hour in some states to over 30 cents in others. The ratio between these two prices is what determines your savings. And if you have solar panels, this changes the game completely. If you generate your own electricity, a heat pump becomes incredibly cost-effective. The second factor is insulation. This one is huge. A heat pump works best in a well-insulated home. If your walls are thin, your windows are old, and your attic has no insulation, your home loses heat quickly. That means the heat pump has to work harder, and your electricity bill goes up. So before you install a heat pump, it makes a lot of sense to invest in good insulation first. Think of it this way. Insulation reduces the amount of heat you need, and the heat pump delivers that heat efficiently. Together, they are a powerful combination. The third factor is your climate. This is a big one for Americans because our climate zones vary so much. In the South, the Southeast, and the Mid-Atlantic, heat pumps perform extremely well year-round. In colder regions like the upper Midwest or northern New England, traditional heat pumps used to struggle in extreme cold. But modern cold climate heat pumps can now work efficiently even when temperatures drop below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. That said, in the very coldest climates, some homeowners choose a dual system, using a heat pump as the primary source and a gas furnace as backup for the coldest days of the year. Let me share the biggest mistake I see people make when comparing these two options. They only look at the installation cost. They see that a gas furnace costs $4,000 and a heat pump costs $15,000, and they think the choice is obvious. But that is like comparing two cars only by their sticker price without looking at gas mileage, insurance, or maintenance. The real cost of any heating system is the total cost of ownership. That includes what you pay up front, what you pay in energy every month, what maintenance costs, and how long the system lasts. A gas furnace typically lasts about 15 to 20 years. A heat pump can last 15 to 25 years, sometimes even longer. Maintenance costs for heat pumps are also generally lower because there is no combustion, no flame, and no exhaust gas. That means fewer things that can wear out or go wrong. And do not forget, a heat pump also cools your home in the summer. It works like an air conditioner in reverse. So if you currently have a separate AC unit, a heat pump replaces both your furnace and your air conditioner in one system. When you factor that in, the price comparison changes dramatically. There is another piece of the puzzle that many people overlook: federal tax credits. Thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, homeowners in the United States can get a federal tax credit of up to $2,000 for installing a qualifying heat pump. On top of that, many states and local utilities offer their own rebates and incentives. In some cases, you can stack these together and save several $1,000s on your installation cost. That makes the gap between a gas furnace and a heat pump much smaller. It is definitely worth checking what is available in your state because these programs vary by location and some have income-based bonuses that can cover even more of the cost. A great place to start is the Department of Energy's website or the Desire database, which lists incentives by state and zip code. When you combine tax credits with lower running costs and longer system life, the financial case for a heat pump becomes very strong for most homeowners. Let me also mention one thing about the future, because this matters for your decision. Natural gas prices are unpredictable. They depend on global supply, pipeline infrastructure, and market forces that are completely outside your control. Over the past few years, we have seen gas prices swing up and down dramatically, especially during extreme weather events. And most energy experts expect fossil fuel costs to remain volatile going forward. Electricity prices, on the other hand, are increasingly tied to renewable energy. As more solar and wind capacity comes online across the country, electricity costs are expected to stabilize and potentially decrease over time. On top of that, if you install solar panels on your roof, you can generate a significant portion of the electricity your heat pump needs. That means you are not just saving money, you are also protecting yourself against future energy price shocks. And here is another thing to keep in mind. More and more cities and states are starting to restrict natural gas in new construction. Investing in a heat pump now means you are future-proofing your home and potentially increasing its resale value. So let's come back to the original question. Which one is actually cheaper? If you only look at the purchase price, gas wins. But if you look at what you pay over 10, 15, or 20 years, a heat pump is very likely the cheaper option, especially if your home is reasonably well insulated, if you take advantage of the available tax credits, and if you are thinking long-term. The savings add up year after year, and with energy prices likely to keep rising, those savings could grow even bigger over time. Now, I am not saying a heat pump is the right choice for every single home. If you live in an extremely cold climate with cheap gas and expensive electricity, the math might be closer. But for most American homeowners who are willing to look at the full picture, a heat pump is a smart financial decision.